Hey guys, so Lena and I were doing a lot of discussion on what we are kind of going to be looking for in the future property that we have. So while we're both kind of occupied with things and she's making an apple pie, we figured we'd just kind of discuss some things that we're looking for in our next property. Because when we first found this piece of property, we were looking for a bigger house with a little bit more land. And now that we've outgrown this piece of property and realize that we need less house, we're kind of in a point where if we can stay more local, to stay more close to family, that's definitely important to her. But we're also looking to see what property size we're looking for, what size house we're looking for. Um, so we're just going to make a quick list of kind of what we're going over and figuring out what we need. So for land wise, I think the acre that we have right now, like I said, we've outgrown it. So we kind of need to upgrade. So we're trying to figure out land wise what we really need to do land size. So I brought up 5 acres for being the property size, and then Alina had brought up a different size. What size?
I said go 7.
7 acres. So
I wouldn't even turn down 10 because land is one of those things. Even if you have more than you need, it can sit. It's not like a bigger house where you have to clean it and like maintain. I know you have to maintain land to some extent, but it's not nearly as much day-to-day maintenance as a house would be. And as we've seen here, we thought 1 acre. Oh, that's plenty. We'll have, it's more than what we'll need. And now that our kind of dreams are changing, we're like, maybe an acre isn't quite enough. So I'd say go bigger on land if you can find it. If not, then I don't know.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
No, because I mean, probably the biggest problem that we're having right now is we just have the acre. And there's really not an opportunity to buy any land around us or directly with us, and we don't want to buy a separate land spot that has travel involved, so that we have to go somewhere or drive 10 or 15 minutes down the road or anything like that, because that's just a pain. No,
that's not ideal.
that's a pain.
We'd like to be living on the property.
Yeah, definitely. Watching Art and Bree's channel and watching Art before have to travel back and forth, that definitely kind of stuck out in my head as to that's just a toll. I mean, I have a long drive and commute to work anyways. I don't want to increase that on my days off trying to care for the animals. I want to be with the animals, not far away from them. So I definitely think that we'll go with the 7 acres on that. When it comes to house size, so the house we were in before, I think it was roughly a little under 1,100,
just over 1,000 square feet.
and that was
It was okay until we had our second baby, and they were still in their same room together, and it's just the downstairs was very the layout just wasn't right. It was one big room, a long room for the living room and dining room, and we were just tripping over each other, and it just was not working for us anymore.
Yeah, so the downstairs was okay set up, but like Alina was saying, upstairs it was just one long room. So you walked up the stairs, it went into a room. Tandem room, and then right off that room there was another room. So it wasn't ideal for having kids split their bedrooms, because you'd have to walk through one bedroom to get from the other bedroom, and there wasn't an ability to make a hallway area. And that we had, I think it was half an acre on the first house.
Half an acre.
And that's why we went to the full acre on this house, just because it made sense. We doubled the land. But now that we have the meat birds and the chickens, and we want to do other things, whether it's pigs or goats or alpacas or llamas, anything like that, it's going to need more land. And it's also going to need...
don't have that here.
Yeah, and it's also going to need an area or a town that allows that, without having to jump through 1,000 hoops to try to do that. So we'll put down 7 acres for land. For house size, I think we had talked about like 15 to 1700 before.
Right, so our house right now is about 2,500 square feet, depending on if you count the basement or not. I don't count the basement, because really that's just, there's not a whole lot down there. But for us, I feel like a minimum of 1,500 square feet would suit us, but it has to be the right layout.
Yeah.
I love the layout of our house right now. I mean, I guess the only thing that I would change is I would have all of the bedrooms on the same floor.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, we kind of have a layout where from our kitchen, we're in our dining room right now. And if you can see, like, well, that doorway right there leads into the kitchen. And if you go that way, it leads into our living room. So it's like, you can kind of peek through the little, like, cutout window from our kitchen through the dining room and into the living room, which I really like, because it makes for a communal space, even though there are separate rooms. And, I mean, we've got a hallway with, like, another, like, bedroom and the bathroom off to it. And I really like the setup, because it works really well for us. But having less square footage, I mean, obviously it's gonna have less maintenance and less upkeep for us, and less to heat, because living in New England, and I mean, we have oil here. Our last house was oil too,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, oil is expensive, and less square footage, less to heat, less expensive.
I mean, with our old house, there was some points in time years ago where we were paying almost $4 a gallon. And when you're blowing through 100 gallons of oil a month just to heat a small house, it cripples your budget. Like, there's just a lot you can't do and you can do. With oil prices right now being so cheap, that's just not going to last forever. We understand that. I think right now oil prices are $1.89, which is the lowest I've seen it in a long time. But whatever happens in the future, those prices can fluctuate so rapidly. And we get a benefit of the pellet stove that we're heating with right now, because for basically $6 a bag, we heat the entire downstairs. And that pretty much keeps the oil at a minimum that we have to use. I mean, we still definitely use it for night and heating upstairs and everything like that, but it definitely cuts down what we would pay normally. I mean, to give you an example, our furnace right now downstairs is from the 50s. We have only a couple of guys that can actually service it, because it's so old. And one of the guys that came and looked at it at one time said the furnace, that model, is used for small shopping plazas. So it's massive. And before, down in the layout of our basement, there was room for 2 oil tanks. So there was 2 330-gallon oil tanks down there. Since we moved in, there's only been 1. They took the second one out from the previous owners, but there was 660 gallons roughly of oil down there at all times to be able to be filled. So that's showing how much oil they were blowing through. That's why when we finally got the pellet stove running and got it going and everything like that, it was definitely a nice addition, because it definitely keeps that heating bill down. So downgrading the size of the house to 1,700 square feet, I think would definitely be more beneficial, because like Alina said, less to clean, less to heat, all that kind of stuff.
Less to pick up.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't really have an opinion either way as to whether we have a 2-story or a single story. I know you would prefer a single story.
Mm-hmm.
My big thing is I would like to have all of the bedrooms on the same floor.
Which we could do with a ranch.
Right. So, I mean, but I don't care either way. If we find a property that has the land that we want, that has the bedrooms that we want, and they're all on the same floor, whether it's a 2-story or a ranch, to me, that's not,
Yeah.
as long as again, and it's all about the layout, because right now our house, even though we're like 2,000 square feet, we only have 2 bedrooms upstairs and 2 bedrooms downstairs, and one of our kids is in a downstairs bedroom while we're upstairs. And like, we're out a ways, so I'm not too concerned about like safety or anything like that, but still, as a parent, you want to be somewhere close to your kids at night in case something comes up. And so that's really just not one of my favorite things about the layout on this house, which would be nice to have all of the bedrooms either on the same floor or in the same wing or whatnot.
And then The other hot topic would be a garage. It's not a deal breaker, but since we've had one in our first house,
We had a small garage, but it was so small that
you
like,
could fit a lawnmower.
well, no, you could fit a small car in it, but that was about it. And
Yeah.
we used it as a shed.
Yeah.
That's where we kept all of our stuff.
And
Um,
now we can park both cars in the garage, which is beneficial. I mean, for
And
winter
yeah,
time.
it wasn't
yeah.
even something that we were looking for. That wasn't
Yeah.
even on our must-have list. But of course, now that we have a garage and we've been spoiled by that, that's kind of something that we need. Or at least, and even if it's not a garage, we need a big shed.
Yeah.
We'll put between the lawnmower and
At least to
the snow blower and
put all the
the
tools and stuff.
workbenches and bikes and
Yeah.
family just.
So garage, I mean, I would say at least a one-car garage. I mean, there's always stuff that can be built. My grandparents didn't have a garage for ages, and they built
I think it's 3-car. Isn't it?
yeah,
It's huge.
I mean, it's a huge garage. I mean, it was something that the Amish came and built for them. They did amazing craftsmanship on that, and it went up pretty quick too, which was nice. And the price on it was definitely really affordable. So, I mean, that's definitely an option too. We can always have someone build on a garage.
But it'd be nice
as
if
well.
the property came with it.
Yeah, of course. So we'll go with yes, and at least a one car.
Bathrooms, preferably a full
2.
bath and a half at
2.
least. Or you want 2 full baths?
With 2 women in the house, yes, 2 bathrooms.
A bath and a half would be fine.
2 bathrooms. Well, if we could find a half bath, great. But I'm learning with kids and a wife and everything like that, the more bathrooms, the better. Because you don't want to be rushed in the bathroom or anything like that.
We have 2 full bathrooms right now, and we never use that shower upstairs.
Well, okay. But as the kids go over, that'll probably be a good idea. And that's not something I want to build later either. So at least 1.5 bath to 2 baths. We'll go with. So for bedrooms, I think just 3 bedrooms,
Minimum of 3.
if not more.
It'd be nice to have 4,
Yeah.
since we have 4 right now, and we are sleeping in 3 of them, and one of them is our office / my craft room where all my junk.
/ everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and, I mean, yeah, I know I have my junk, but most of your junk's in the garage, so.
True. Yeah. So,
So it'd be nice to have 4, but again, if it's the right property with the right land and the right layout, and it happens to only have 3 bedrooms,
yeah.
I can sacrifice
And the
some.
benefit of up in this area too is most of your properties have a basement. Whether it's finished or not, you can still store stuff down there,
Right.
which is good. I know a lot of places down south they don't have a whole lot of basements, or in certain areas they do. In certain areas it's just on a slab. So up here it'd be a little bit easier to find a basement. That does come with its own problems. Like our last house, it was very. It was built in the 1920s, so it was very pieced together with different things.
That's scary.
Yeah. So we had water that would seep up through the floor that we'd have to kind of control. We had one time where Alina came home and there was water just pouring into the basement like a waterfall.
Through the window, like
Through the window.
through the window,
Yeah.
down the wall like a waterfall, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
So
And there was nothing I could do about
yeah,
it. Nothing.
yeah. And so I tore the frame apart, ripped the window out, and the stuff you find there is really scary. I mean, there was a 8-foot chain. I mean,
Random.
yeah, with the links, like huge links in it, that I had to chisel out of the window. We replaced the frame, replaced the window, everything like that, and that stopped. But the water would still seep up from the floor when the water table would kind of rise, which made it a little bit of a pain in the butt. But the basin we have now stays nice and dry. Occasionally you'll get a little moisture down there if it rains, I mean inches of rain.
Yeah, but not like it wasn't flooded like
No.
the other house.
And then when we lived in New York, it was, we had mushrooms growing down in the basement. It was so moist. So
Well, that was a rental.
yeah,
We
and
didn't own that place.
it was a rock / dirt basement. So it was literally from, I think, the 1800s is when that house was built. All the floors were slanted, everything like that. We all lived in one of those apartments at one point in time, but we wanted to stay away from that. So the basement would definitely be key. So I would love to definitely go into aquaponics and hydroponics in the basement as well, eventually.
Let's talk about pantry space.
Pantry space, yeah.
So, our old house did not have a pantry, and we utilized a couple of kitchen cabinets for pantry space, which it worked for us. Our kids were little, but now they're a lot bigger. And now that I have been canning a lot of stuff and we've kind of been stocking up on stuff, we do have a pantry here that is a good sized pantry.
Yeah.
So in our next house, we would definitely need to have a nice big pantry, and it would really, I think, to kind of do something a bit more custom with canning jars for shelving, because you
I
can't
like
double
the
stack.
shelving and the one we have right now, but yeah, if we could
You can't double
reduce
stack
that
them.
to not double stack, yeah, that would be ideal.
So definitely need a pantry, and it'd be really nice if it wasn't in the hallway and it was right in the kitchen.
So I mean,
It's not super inconvenient, but
a lot of people are probably wondering why we're doing this, and the reason being is you tend to look at land and it check marks some things, you don't remember other things. It sounds great other ways, and then when you really get down to it, you're like, this property looks amazing, and you fall in love with it, and then you realize it doesn't meet half the requirements that you wanted. You just fell in love with some of the ideas of it.
and like I think our thing too is that, I mean, yeah, it'd be great to be able to find the most perfect space, but we don't want to buy something to try to, you know, save some money and not have as big of a mortgage, but then have to invest a whole
Yeah.
bunch of money into it. So I mean, we're doing this really like early. I think our outlook, I mean, at least for me, is a couple of years, because we're trying to get a big chunk.
Unless something right comes along. I mean, I tend to jump like that, unfortunately, and that's where we balance each other out. Is she's the more reserved, I'm the jump, and what do you call me, the dreamer?
You're the dreamer, I'm the realist.
Yeah. So I'm the one that we find something that we both like, and I'm the one that talks her into it, and she is the one that when I find something I like, that's a little unrealistic and everything like that, she can kind of make more sense to me.
I'm a dream crusher.
I wouldn't call it a dream crusher, but yeah, I mean, it
I'm
definitely
pretty down to
balances
earth.
itself out. There's things that I probably would have jumped into in the past with properties that I'm certainly heck glad we didn't, just because it
And
didn't meet everything
there
we wanted to.
are certainly, I mean, I think both of our houses, I'm so reserved that I was paralyzed with fear.
This is horrible. I have to sit in front of this. My mouth is watering just waiting for it to go into the oven.
With our first house, I was paralyzed with fear to even like jump into it, because it was such a huge jump that I didn't know what to do. And once we found the house, he was like, "That's the house."
I
That's
jumped
one
on the
we're
horse
getting."
blindfold and slapped it and went riding. So
And it was the same thing when we bought this house. Like, I was so unsure because it was like so much bigger, and I wasn't, you know, I didn't know. And you're like, "No, we're doing this."
yeah.
And then I changed jobs right in the middle of the house sale, but everything worked out.
Thank goodness. All
But
right.
yeah, so anyway, we do balance each other really well. He's the dreamer, and I'm kind of more of the realist, and I'm like, okay, so if this is what we want to do, how can we do it?
And then commute to work at this point. It'd be great to stay more local, or even move closer to my job right now. So I mean, that's the other thing that we'll be looking into as well. I'm gonna go on Zillow and whatever the other apps are out there and draw that circle within a certain mile radius. I'd say probably within 30 to 45 mile radius to kind of see where it puts us. Whether that puts us slightly into a different state that's still close to here but close to there, that would be ideal. But again, this comes down to the right property, because there's a lot of places I'm looking at. A lot of places look amazing. A lot of places are just land, and I'm like, okay, we can build our own place, but then that comes with its own kind of sides of things, because then we can build the house that we want,
That would be awesome.
but then there's all the permits and all that other kind of stuff.
And we've never been through
No.
that before,
And it's not as lax as some of the other states out there where you just kind of do what you need to do, and the state and the towns all leave you alone.
Yeah, we would need to hire like a contractor, an architect, and I mean,
Ugh.
yeah,
That's
that's
pain.
not something that we would be able to take on ourselves. I mean, I wish that we could, because I see so many people who do it, and like
I'd even be cool
I'm
with a
envious,
modular
but-
manufactured home even. That would, because then we can really kind of see what we need to as well. So that's on the drawing table as well if we needed to.
Well, it wasn't initially, remember?
Yeah, I kind of had to talk her into that, so she liked that. But it took kind of going on a couple of different tours, showing her what the new modular homes and manufactured homes
I think
look like.
modular home. I think trailer, because that's all I've ever
And
seen. And like,
Seeing some of the data ones that can be kind of, yeah, it's not ideal for some people and everything like that, but showing
I've
her
always-
the new ones.
and again, I've always grown up, like when I was growing up, we always had like a house, or we were living in military housing,
Yeah.
or I never like lived that like experience.
Yeah,
So
it's
for
not-
me, it was kind of a sour subject. I didn't
Yeah.
want to, and not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just not how I grew up or how I envisioned myself living. But then seeing some of the new things out there and what you can actually do with a modular home.
There's a lot of things you can do with it, so
Um,
which is nice.
It does kind of open up the idea there, but then again, there's no basement option with something
Well,
like that, unless you.
But there are, because my grandfather out in New York, his was actually back in, oh god, probably the 50s, 60s. They built a house and then dropped the modular home on top of it. So
They built the foundation.
yeah, I mean, whatever they had to do, because I remember it was a nightmare because it was super, super muddy trying to get the house in. It didn't sit level at first, but they
Sounds
have
like
a
nightmare.
they have a root cellar right now, which is really cool, and there's that distinct root cellar smell when you go down there. But it kind of opens up the doors for things that we can do as well. So when it comes down to it, we're going to be looking around 7 acres of land, 1,500 to 1,700 square feet. For garage size, definitely looking for one, if not a one-car garage, and then if not a shed. So 1.5 to 2 bathrooms, and then probably 4 bedrooms would be ideal. If we have to do 3 and there's a basement, even better, then we can do that. But it leaves some wiggle room as well. And then for the pantry, definitely yes for the canning, and then I would love the basement too, because like I said, you could also do pantry space down there, root cellar, you could do the aquaponics, hydroponics, and then storage as well. So it's kind of like a one size meets all. So I mean, if
Oh,
there's,
you know what else would be really great? A barn.
yeah, I mean, well, yeah, if we had a barn, that'd be amazing. So something added benefit that we
It's
can
not
look for.
it's not a backbreaker, but it would be something that if there was already some infrastructure in place for a farm, that would be really nice.
Yeah, and yeah,
Because
so I mean,
otherwise we would have to build something.
well, we could do that
But it
in
would,
the barn. So we'll kind of wrap this video up because we're running about the 23-minute mark. So I mean, if there's anything you guys looked for in your properties, if you're already on your homestead, or if you're looking,
or if you bought a homestead and there was something that you thought of afterwards, like,
yeah,
hey, this would have been really nice to have had, we would
Yeah.
love to know before we embark on this next adventure.
so Lena's gonna finish making the apple pie right here. Then I think we're gonna put one in the freezer maybe. Oh, you just got one today?
This one's going in the freezer.
Yep. So
We got too much Halloween candy to get
Oh.
through.
yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. That was bad. So I hope you guys have a good rest of the day. This is it for now. So thank you guys for watching, and make sure to hit that subscribe button and the like button, and comment down below with some pointers that you may have. And yes, I will be enjoying this a little bit later. So yum yum. So thank you guys. Have a nice day.